He came out of the world of men and their cities of steel and concrete in tatters, all scratched up and dirtied on the surface, and broken and ripped apart inside. He carried what was left of his life in a blanket clutched to his breast, carefully shielding its contents from the sights and sounds and smells of the civilization that had ruined him and destroyed her. He thought of her all the time, but he couldn't make himself remember what she looked like anymore. He knew only how hard they had tried to find a way through the morass of their lives, choosing to share their misery, but always searching to break free of their bonds. Hard to do when nothing in your life is real and every day is a slog through dark and painful places that strip the skin from your soul. When she died, they had been huddled in an alleyway in the darkest part of Christmas Landing, sheltered poorly in cardboard from a steady downpour that formed a small river only 4 feet away. They had scored early and resold what they had to get money for food and milk for Baraboo. They had made a good choice for once, but had come to regret it with night's hard descent and no means to soften the blow. She had been coughing badly for days, and her breathing had worsened, and all he knew how to do was to stay with her. There were medical centers they could go to, but once they entered one of those places, they might as well say goodbye to their baby. She might have gone alone, of course, but she was afraid to do that, as if making that choice would cost her the baby anyway. As if, in his desperation, he might choose to sell it. As if, in hers, she might approve. He stole some medicine off the shelves of a pharmacy, but it didn't seem to help her. Nothing did. She just kept coughing and wheezing, getting worse by the day. He found her an old blanket in a garbage bin and wrapped her in that, then held her close against him to share his body heat. She was so cold, and she didn't look right. But she still held Baraboo and wouldn't let her go, and so he ended up holding them both. But finally he fell asleep, even though he had told himself he wouldn't do so. And when he woke, she was dead. He never knew her real name. She never gave it to him. He called her Pearl, because she was precious to him, and she seemed content enough with that. He told her his own name, though. "I'm Jimmy," he said. "Once upon a time, I was kidnapped by the old folk." He had told that to only a very few before her, and then quit doing so because no one believed him. She probably didn't believe him either, but she came closer to looking as if she did than anyone else. She was like that. Even at her worst, when she was so strung out she could barely put a sentence together and started seeing things that weren't there, she could find a way to listen to him. She was tough, but she was vulnerable too. She trusted people when she shouldn't have. She had faith in people who didn't deserve it. He was one of those people, he supposed. Mostly he was good to her and took care of her and the baby, and did little things to make her life more bearable when, really, it was hell on earth. He thought all this and more as he rode the hovercraft out of Christmas Landing to Port London and his future. His and Baraboo's. For he was determined his daughter would have a future, even if Pearl didn't. He had fought against himself and his habit and his wasteful, reckless existence for too long. He had denied what he had known was true for too many years, persuaded by his mother and the rescuer she had hired to find him, made to believe when in his heart he knew he shouldn't. Memories surfaced like half-remembered dreams of his time among the old folk, the outlings. He had been only a boy, little more than a baby, and so young he barely realized what was happening to him. Taken from his mother's camp by a puka, carried to the realm of the old folk beyond Trollscarp, seduced and made happy beyond anything he could have imagined possible. His mother all but forgotten, his world made over. There he had remained, until his mother had come for him, finding him with a mother's persistence in the face of formidable odds, taking him back to his old life, telling him he would forget all this one day. It would seem a dream to him. He would become the man he was meant to be, and not a pawn in the hands of creatures who could not know and would never care what it was he needed. The choices you make in this world should be your own and never another's, she had told him. You should never be another's pawn.